Okay, so now in this set of problems, we're dealing with a different set of information. So it says write an equation in point-slope form. So again, we want to write that equation as many times as we can. So hopefully you have it memorized by now, but if not, okay, y minus y1 equals mx minus x sub 1. Okay, so write the equation in this form given that the line passes through these 2 points. Remember, point-slope form. So I have a point and I have a slope. Okay? I can pick any one of these 2 points as my point. Either one of these can be my x sub 1 and y sub 1. I'm going to go ahead and just pick the bottom one. Okay? You can actually work out the problem picking the other two, and you'll find that you'll still get the same answer. Go ahead and try that and see if that works out. It will work out, especially if you do your math right. Okay, so I'm going to pick the bottom one here, okay? So that means my x sub 1 and y sub 1 is going to be 2 and 12. Okay, so there's my point. Now I need the second part of this equation. That's my slope. So I'm going to pick green here to find my slope. So you know to find your slope, when you have 2 points, okay, you can use your slope formula here. My delta y over my delta x, or my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so now, actually I hope this isn't confusing here because this is different than this right here. So which one of these would be my x1, y1, or x1, x2? Which would come first in my x coordinate plane? So this one would, right? So that means this is my x1 and this is my y1. This is my x2 and my y2. Okay, so now my y2, that's 2 minus 12 over 7 minus 2. Okay, 2 minus 12. I can say 2 plus a negative 12. That's going to be a negative 10. And then 2 plus a negative 7 plus a negative 2. That's a positive 5. And if I simplify this comes out to be negative 5. I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Negative 2 over 1, and that would be a negative 2. So then my slope is negative 2, and then here are my x sub 1, y sub 1. So let's write out my equation now. Okay, so that would be y minus y sub 1 is 12 equals negative 2 times x minus 2. Okay, and that would be my answer right here. Okay, I have my slope and then I have my point. Okay, and I can actually use this equation to graph my line. Okay, remember I can use this point and then I can use this slope. This goes along with the problem that we just worked previously in the previous video. Okay, so now let's move on to our next problem. Okay, which is 25. All right. This one is slightly more complicated, mainly because we have negative coordinate points here now. So same thing, we want a point-slope formula. So I'm going to write out my formula. Y minus y1 equals my slope times x minus x sub 1. All right, so pick a point. Let's pick this one right here. Okay, there's a specific reason why I want to pick that one, and we'll get to that in a second. Okay, and then let's see here. Now we need to find our slope. So again, my formula, delta y, rise over run. Hopefully this is now ABCs to you. Y sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 1. Okay, so what's my y? Which one of these is my x1 and x2? Which would come first in the x coordinate? Negative 4 or 6? So obviously negative 4, right? So that's x1 and this is my x2, which means this is y2 and this is y1. All right, now let's work out the math. So y2, which is negative 7 minus y1 minus a negative 1 over x2, 6 minus a negative 4. Okay? All right, now, so I'm going to change this to a plus, and that means this number, I'm going to change it to its opposite, which would be plus. Same thing here. So negative 7 plus 1, yes, negative 6. And then 6 plus 4 is 10. And then if I simplify this, I can divide each of these by 2, giving me negative 3 over 5. Right? Okay, so there's my slope. So now I can finish my equation. So y minus, what's my y sub 1? Y minus a negative 1. Okay? And then my slope is negative 3 over 5 times x minus, and then what's my x sub 1? Minus a negative 4. Okay, so now I actually need to simplify this, right? Because this is a little bit messy. So I'm going to look over at my right side of the equation. What can I do here to clean this up a bit? So y minus a negative, so I can do the opposite sign, opposite term, plus, and then opposite sign here, that means that's y plus 1. So that's a little bit cleaner, right? Alright, now let's look at this one here. So 3/5, so my slope, and then x minus a negative 4. So that's the same thing that I did over here. So that would be x plus a positive 4, right? So then that would change that to x plus 4. So now my equation is a little bit cleaner, and it looks more like the standard form, which is right up here. Okay, and that's my answer. And remember, this point slope form, I can use this equation here, even though it doesn't look like my traditional y equals mx plus b, I can still make this look like y equals mx plus b. Okay, I can still convert this into this to graph my line. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, in fact, let me do that right quick for you. Okay, let's do that over here on the side in yellow. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. Y plus 1 equals negative 3/5 times x plus 4. So let me show you how you can work this out to still look like the traditional y equals mx plus b to graph. Now I don't have to do that because I already have enough information on this line or on this equation to graph, right? Because I have a point right here. Here's my xy points, and then I have a slope, and I can just use that to graph. Same thing if I look over here, I have a slope, and then I have my y-intercept, right? So both of these equations are good enough to write a line on a graph. But let me just show you how they're still connected, they're still related, if you will. So here, let me write this one out. So let's work on our right side of the equation here. So I have negative 3/5 times x, right? And I can't really mix that together because they're two different terms. So now distributive property, now my next one. So negative 3/5 times 4. So negative, I'm going to do my work over here on the side. 3/5 times 4 over 1. That's negative 12 over 5. Okay, so that's negative 12 over 5, so that's minus 12 over 5. And then that's y plus 1. Okay, so that almost looks like y equals mx plus b, right? I just have this 1 over here I need to get rid of. So minus 1, minus 1. Okay, so then what's negative 12 over 5 minus 1? So here I have a denominator of 5. Can't I just say 5 over 5? Isn't 5 over 5 still 1? So that's minus 1. That's still the same thing, right? Well, that's negative 12 over 5 minus 1. Negative 12 over 5 minus, that's still 1, right? Okay, good. So let me change that to a plus sign and the opposite. So then my denominator stays the same. And then my numerator, what's negative 12 plus negative 5? Negative 17. So then my final equation will look like this. Y equals, because I got rid of my 1 over here, right? Got rid of that. Y equals negative 3/5 x. And then my x minus 17 over 5. Okay, so now it's in my y equals mx plus b. So it's the same thing. I can convert this. I can go back and forth and convert it from one from another. The only thing is now I have a new equation right here, my point slope equation. I can use this equation to solve for a graph if I just have a point and a slope. Whereas over here, I have my slope and my y-intercept. This is my point slope intercept form, right? My slope intercept. So either one of these equations will work. It just depends on what information I'm being given, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, last but not least, 29. Now, 29, I have work that's been done here, okay? I have a graph, and then I did the work, but this work is incorrect. Something went wrong in this. So it says describe and correct the error. So there was an error here. Describe the error that was done right over here based off of the line that is shown here. All right, well, let's take a look here. First of all, the student here wrote the slope as 2 over 3. So that means the line goes up 2 and then over 3. Well, let's check that. Here I have 2 points. Does it go up 2? 1, 2, and then over 1, 2, 3. So that's 2 over 3. Okay, so the slope checks out. They did that part of the work correct. So what happened then? What's wrong? And let's see, our slope here, 2 over 3. Okay, so that's still correct. And now let's take a look at our points here. Okay, so knowing that it's in point slope form, I know that these two numbers are indicative of a specific coordinate point. So let's check that point now. We already know that the slope is correct. Now let's check the points. Okay, so that would be x sub 1, y sub 1. That's my coordinate point. Okay, right, this is my y sub 1, right? So that's positive 2. And then my x is positive 4. All right, so let's check that. Okay, so I'm going to put this one in green. So that's positive 4 and then 2. Oh, interesting. Here, actually, let me put that in blue so it'll pop out a little bit more. Well, look at that. So the point, based off of the equation that they wrote, the point isn't even on the line. So that makes this equation incorrect, and it does not fit that line that they have shown here. So how would I describe and correct the error? Okay, so one of the things I could say, here let me do this in green, I could say that I would describe the error as the point given in equation is not, let me put that in capital, is not in the given line. So this point right here, these points are not on this line. Okay, so one of the ways that you could correct it, okay, comma, and let me do the correction in a different color just so you can see that. Let's pick, yeah, let's pick yellow, red. Okay, is that I would go back and pick a point on given line and input into point slope equation. Okay, so again, I can pick any one of these points. So like this point, for example, I already, this point is, my x is 4 and my y is 4. So then I can pick this point and then I can put it back in this equation. So then my new equation would look like y minus, my y1 is 4 equals, and my slope I already know is 2/3 times x minus, and then my x1 is 4. So here's my correct equation. See, I can point to that right there. So this is the work that I did to correct this mistake that was done on number 29.